Howdy everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a November reading wrap up. It was a really weird month with the election results earlier this month, but I still managed to get some good books in and I am excited to talk about them with you all today. The first book I read in November was Gather Me, a memoir in praise of the books that saved me by Gloria Edom. I checked this out from my local library and read it on my Kindle. The the author, Glory Edom, is the founder of the popular Instagram account called Well Read Black Girl, and in this memoir she details, quite literally what the title says, how books have been a guiding anchor for her as she navigated through various stages of her life as the eldest daughter, as the daughter of an African household, and how the different, I guess you could say, complexities that life threw at her, how she was able to use books as a way to cultivate her response to whatever came her way and still does. It was a very refreshing piece to read. I don't read memoirs all that often, but I really did felt seen with this one because she talked about her love for books. She talked about her dynamic as the caretaker in her house, especially as her father had left the country and as her mother fell into a health issue and just having to be the glue that held it all together while still trying to find herself in the process. And it was a really great book. I zoomed through it because I was just so invested in the story. And yeah, great read. The second book of November was Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. I listened to this as an audiobook, and let me tell you, this was a highly anticipated read for me. Um, I'm quite late to the party, I'll acknowledge that, but that's only because the library, it was always just checked out or had a long hold period. But then I just happened to see that the audiobook had a very short wait time, so I was like, ooh, let me get in the queue. Next thing I knew, I had it. And this is another book that I zoomed through. It's about these two authors, one white, one Asian. They met in undergrad, and as they graduated and delved into the publishing space, they still kept in contact. However, the Asian author, I believe her name was Athena. She was really garnering popularity. People loved her books. She was a well-known name and face. In June, the white author, not as much. She had a novel, but then it fell through with the publishers. And so June was very much envious of Athena and her success, but she really tried to keep it minimal. She wanted to maintain that friendship. And so one night they had gone out together. Athena had just signed a really big deal, so they were out drinking. And then Athena and June went back to Athena's apartment. They were drunk, having fun, making, just being girls. And there was a moment where they were making pancakes, and Athena had choked on a pancake and unfortunately passed away. And so June, she's trying to figure out what to do. Like, oh my God, my friend just died in front of me. What do I do now? And what she did next is, well, I don't want to give too much. You're going to have to read to find out. But yeah, R.F. Kuang, Yellowface, this book pissed me off in a good way. It's definitely satirical. I kept having to remind myself, like, Delonda, this is satire. Don't read too much into this. You're getting too worked up. But I feel like that's what makes the book so good. Like, I love when I have such a strong reaction to the things I'm reading. And I especially liked the DMV representation. If you're unfamiliar, DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. Throughout the book, there was different points like DuPont Circle, or Franconia, Springfield, different places that I'm familiar with that were sprinkled in throughout the book, and I thought that was cool. Shout out DMV. The third book of November was How Not to Drown in a Glass of Water by Angie Cruz. This was another audiobook that I listened to, and we have our protagonist, Cara Romero, or Cara Bonita. She is trying to sustain her unemployment benefits after being laid off from her factory job. This book very much takes place during the Great Recession in, say, 2008, 2009. And so the book is set up into 12 chapters or sessions that she has with this counselor who is trying to find her a job. She'll talk to her, try to figure out her strengths and weaknesses, and suggest places to apply. So essentially a career counselor. I don't know why I didn't just say career counselor, but Kata sort of takes these sessions and treats them more as a therapy session more than like a very professional, like she goes into her life as to how she came to the United States, the relationship she has with her mother, her father, her relationship with her son, and we really just learned a lot about Cara Bonita. It was so funny. The narrator for this did such a great job, and I will admit that the ending left me tearing up because it just really touched my spirit, and yeah, we love Cara Bonita in this household. Book number 4 for November was Oye by Melissa Mogolon. I read this on my Kindle, and we have this Colombian American family preparing to leave Florida because a hurricane is about to hit the area. And as they're packing up their belongings, packing enough to help sustain them in the time that they're away from their house, there's one issue. Their grandmother, or abue, does not want to leave. She's being stubborn, she doesn't want to go, and so we see the protagonist, Luciana, and her mother really getting in it with each other, saying her mother's very much like, Luciana, you got to tell your abue, we need to go, this is very serious. And I was very much standing 10 tones down. She does not want to leave. And so there's a 2-week period where it's just Luciana and her mother on the road. Her mother's very much like, yeah, let's turn this into a traveling experience. And Luciana's like, no, what the hell is going on here? And as she's on this journey with her mother, she's in contact with her sister, Mariana, who is at undergrad. I believe she's at George Washington in Washington, D.C. And, the storm settles. Luciana and her mother are to come back, and they find out something had happened to Abue. And it really just flips the whole plot of the story and becomes the guiding point until the very end. And this was another book that I found to be very interesting, another book that made me tear up at the end. Actually, I was reading How Not to Drown in a Glass of Water and Oye simultaneously, just switching back and forth. And let me tell you, reading both those books so close in time, both making me very emotional, I was like, okay, I had to put the book down. I have to take a break from reading. But yeah, going back to Oya, it was a really good story. Something that really stood out to me was the story didn't have any quotation marks, and so it took a while for me to get used to because I was like, wait, something's missing here. But as I got more into it, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. And the last book I read in November is a book I actually have a copy of on hand, and it's James by Percival Everett. It's a retelling of Huckleberry Finn in the sense that it is told from the perspective of an enslaved man named James who is living with his family, working as an enslaved person, unfortunately, until he overhears that his enslaver plans to separate him from his family and sell him off to another person. And that is when he's like, enough is enough. I need to get up and move. And so it's a very riveting story. It definitely is a commentary of both how slavery was justified then and how we see race relations, anti-racism now. And I had actually picked up this book because I participated in Pretty Little Bookshelf's book club this past month. It was my first book club since elementary school, and the meeting was this past Sunday, and it was really nice to be in community with other readers for the first time in a very long time, and I hope to be a part of more book club discussions in the future. Alright everyone, those were all the books that I read in November. Really great month for reading, despite the circumstances that unfolded earlier this month. Actually, I'll just say it. The November 2024 presidential elections. I am very much It's really hard to describe how I feel at this moment in time, now that we're about 3 weeks since the election results had came out, and I feel like it's very much a feeling that I will be tinkering with even as the administration comes in January and for the 4 years after that. I will say that this channel is very much a safe space for every single person that the upcoming administration's policies will hurt or have the potential to hurt, and if you are somebody who does not agree with that stance, that form of solidarity, then respectfully, this channel is not for you. In other words, if I had to choose my favorite book for November, it would certainly be Yellowface, simply because, like I said, I had such a strong reaction reading it, and it was just one of those books that I feel like is a must read, and I am looking forward to reading more of R.F. Kuang's work. Babel is also on my list. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.